Hello, my name's Alex Bowie, and I will be presenting on the rising prices of prescription drugs. The purpose of this speech is to provide information on increasing prices on prescription drugs and provide some possible solutions that can make them more affordable and more readily available. So currently, around the world and in the US, there is a big problem with gauging prices on medications. It's been a topic for many, many years, and it's kind of been a debate, not more of why it should be controlled, but how. So the ASPE reports that over the period of January of 2022 and January 2023, more than 4,200 prescription drugs had a price increase. And out of these 4,200 drugs, 46% of these was greater than the rate of inflation. The issue here with drugs is there's no control of how much they can raise it, and it happens almost every year. There are a few reasons as to why these prices are so high, and the biggest one is monopoly. There is also seriousness of the disease, so people will pay for a medication if it's life-saving. The cost of development is reasons why prices can be so high, and there's no regulation in the lobbying power of pharmaceutical companies, at least not here in the US. According to the CDC, about 48.6% of Americans are taking at least one prescription medication. So typically there isn't a big issue with that population affording their medication, but the issue becomes when they have to take multiple, which is fairly common. So for example, if you're taking one medication, it's $100. You can probably swing it. But if you're taking like four, now it's $400 a month. And some people, that's hard to pay that every single month, and especially if it's a drug that you have to take for life. My credibility comes from personal experience. So I have high cholesterol, and I have been taking a statin for a very long time. I was prescribed Lipitor, which is the brand name for atorvastatin. And in the beginning, my insurance covered it and it was fine. But this was before Obamacare, and my parents were laid off. They lost their jobs. We didn't have medical insurance, so we couldn't afford the Lipitor out of pocket. We ended up actually getting samples from a relative who worked at a clinic, and she would just get the samples that the pharmaceutical companies would leave, and she would give them to us. Another thing is my son is prescribed an EpiPen because he's allergic to peanuts. So we actually have to have 3 EpiPens, one that stays here at home, one that travels with us, and one that stays at my parents who watch him while I'm at school or at work. And luckily, our insurance does cover the EpiPens, but there's some EpiPens that are not covered by insurances. And the really weird part is that there's different EpiPens, different brands. They all work exactly the same, but because it's a brand name or it's versus a generic name, some insurances will cover it and some won't. And they have some crazy prices, like 400 plus for just one EpiPen. Uh, so because the issues are so multifaceted, there's no one clear solution that can just bring down all the prices. But like we can start by implementing a cap on pricing. We can limit patent durations, and we can remove incentives for physicians that are prescribing the drugs. A few of these changes can make a huge difference on affordability, and let's get into why these things can help. So The first change is a cap on price increase. This seems to typically be a bigger issue and only in the US. So here, I mean, this is just a brief example of some medications and how much they changed in just 1 year. The example that I like to give is the price of insulin of one vial in 1999 was $21. Now in 2024, it is over $300 for that same vial, same brand, same everything. Nothing has changed. And it's just the company has decided that they wanted to raise the price. A lot of the times the farm companies will cite that the reasons that the drug is so expensive is the cost of development. But in this case, for the insulin, because it's been the same for over 100 years, that's not the reason. This is just a reason. This is a perfect example of a pharmaceutical company taking advantage of the vulnerable, and they know that diabetics will pay for insulin. They need it to live. The second change is limiting patent durations. So this is the patent durations directly results in monopolies. What tends to happen is that the duration of the patent is really long, and companies will apply for multiple new patents while they still have that one. And they'll just extend that same patent on the drug, and it extends the monopoly. So then no other person can come and create a new drug. So it prevents generic and biosimilar drugs from being available, and it prevents from creating like affordable medications. By limiting these durations, this will allow other affordable options to be on the market. The last point is removing incentives for prescribing physicians. So how this works right now is a doctor receives a higher reimbursement depending on the drug they prescribe. So it literally goes from oral medications to IV medications, chemo medications, and sometimes they don't have a choice because it's the only drug available, but sometimes they will purposely prescribe a way more expensive drug because they get reimbursed a lot more. So if you guys haven't seen the movie Pain Hustlers, that's kind of what the whole premises of that movie is. It's a pretty good movie if you haven't seen it. But basically, it's just a pharmaceutical rep goes and, incentivizes these doctors to prescribe their medication because they'll get, a lot more money back. This paradigm creates a financial incentive for the doctors to prescribe a more expensive one versus the cheaper one. So in conclusion, we see that this problem is global, but really the bigger issue is here in the US. There's no clear-cut resolution, especially because some of these issues are so deep-rooted into our policies. But by implementing some of these things that we mentioned, like having a cap on the price, by limiting the patent durations and removing incentives for physicians, we could have more access to affordable medications. There is resources now, like Obamacare. If you go like on a county health, I believe it's like LA County Public Health website, they have resources there that can help you. GoodRx is an app, I believe, also just like a website where you go and it will compare your prescription to different pharmacies and kind of find you the cheapest one. You can also just, ask your doctor, hey, can you prescribe generic versus the brand? can you, is this medication really necessary? Is there, other ways to approach this? Talk to your insurance. Sometimes they can tell you, we cover this, have your doctor prescribe this versus this. Um, but we really shouldn't have to jump through all these hoops. I believe that there should be a affordable market for everyone. And yeah, thank you. That is it.